seeing the Cane of Burna, the magic management to get through the whole thing, as long as they don't find bombs or whatever weapon else, is really interesting to see.
Oh, and looks like Uncle has this covered, so you know what? Stay in bed, Link. Just don't even bother getting out. Uncle's on the case. He's gonna save Hyrule.
A little piece of heart in the first chest. I really like seeing those early. Just a little piece of heart now and then really adds up in the long run.
Yeah, certainly as the run draws to a close, you stop caring about those almost entirely, but at the start, I'm never going to turn down a bit of extra health, especially when you're potentially doing the escape sequence with some less than optimal equipment. Oh no, Uncle doesn't got this.
Oh, but he left him a hammer. I really like seeing this. It's one of the faster ones.
Yeah, I like it. It takes out all the enemies except for that ball and chain guard in one hit, but allows for a lot of quick and easy farming. So I expect both runners are going to get that initial bomb they need for the back of escape before they make it out.
There's tons of rats and snakes in the sewers to farm up if they don't go for the guards here.
All right, so making their way through escape. Let's see just how much farming they attempt to do here. Each only going for one guard and getting that same drop on them. If you haven't looked into it too closely, enemies have a 50-50 chance of dropping something every time you kill them, unless they're like that blue guard and they're guaranteed to have the key drop. So, you know, take out enough enemies and you'll start to see items drop from them. And they're, each type of enemy has a set of 8 possible prizes that it cycles through every time you get a drop. So, I don't think any runner explicitly counts this, but they're usually looking to get 8 drops from each type of enemy so that they can hope to get a bomb.
More you know.
But of course, that's all contingent on the enemies actually dropping things, which shadyforce didn't get there.
Ooh, and bombs in this chest over here.
Well,
So we'll have to be farming.
That certainly eliminates a lot of that need. I'm sure that's a welcome sight. 3 bombs is even great because it lets you do Blind's Hut and the well without needing to find another bomb along the way.
I think I'd still go and try and find one more bomb, either between a tree pull or just casual enemy kill. Just having that 4th bomb, just do the chicken hunt as well.
Well, with 300 rupees coming out of Zelda's chest there, I'm not sure. Well, the runners may just opt now to go and purchase a set of 10 for 50 rupees in the village right down by the chicken hut. We'll have to see what happens as that comes up. Looks like shadyforce has a bit of a lead coming into the second part of this escape sequence.
And the extra 300 rupees also allows them to go and check the bottle vendor right away too.
Yeah, between 50 rupees for possibly buying bombs, as well as 100 rupees for the bottle vendor, often you're looking at spending 150 rupees in Kakariko. You're guaranteed 50 from under the pots in Blind's Hut, as well as the well. So you're still looking to scrounge up 100 other rupees if you possibly can. Fortunately, that's not going to be an issue here. Now, the tricky thing about Hammer Escape is that Hammer hitbox is absolutely terrible. And of course, it's different depending on which direction you're facing. So we saw both runners get hit a bit by these snakes in the tunnel, and that's pretty understandable given just how hard it is. to hit things consistently, especially when they sometimes dash like those snakes do. But that 10 bomb refill in the middle of escape takes away all those woes for the players. That is something I like to see early.
Yeah, it looks like Lenophis is actually going and killing more of the enemies in the sewers here, which is taking a little bit longer, while Shadyforce is just running through the enemies and damage boosting through.
Yeah, and if you're confident that you can make it all the way to the village safely, that's not really you're not really in danger of dying due to those enemies, especially when the rats do, I believe it's only a quarter heart of damage. So sometimes you get hit and you don't even see that damage register on your life bar.
There's only a bomb upgrade and 20 rupees over in the back of the well here. Back of the
Well, that's
sewers.
a letdown. And 20 bucks more, yeah.
You know, even so, I'm still happy to find extra money here, because if, like, Zora becomes a play later, it's always good to have that extra money in hand.
Yeah, and, 2 red rupee drops on top of that 300. You do start doing that mental calculation of, okay, how much do I actually need before I can start risking the play up to Zora? Shady gonna go for the tree pull here, gets 40 arrows. Not the best tree pull, especially when you don't have the bomb or the bow at this point. But the Hoarder Crab is spitting out single bombs.
That would be nice to see if they didn't already have 9 bombs in hand.
It sure would, but oh no, did you see what was on that ledge in the lumberjack cave?
Oh no, I missed it.
That was about the worst thing you can see in there. That was a shovel.
Oh yeah, just the mystery hidden underneath what it could be.
Okay, but we got the flute in the forest at least, so that's one less thing to worry about. But oh, when you see that shovel, suddenly it's, do I have to beat Aga? How much of this game do I have to clear before it even becomes something to worry about? Shadyforce getting 300 rupees there in the Thieves' Hideout in the forest. So Zora, definitely we have the money for it now.
Yeah, and like remembering to activate the flute the first time in the village, like getting it so early, it allows so much mobility around the whole world. And on top of that, it also opens up Death Mountain.
Yeah, that's very good. My hope for these runners, actually, now that we've seen the shovel there, is that we don't get the boots for the longest time. And that way, if they don't have the boots, they don't even have to think about doing Aga Tower. Shadyforce picking up the mirror in Blind's Hut.
Ooh, that could mean that they have to go to Tower Hera.
Yeah, that's a very quick route to putting Tower of Hera in play for these runners. We'll have to see. We haven't had a map check yet, so that may or may not be a crystal. But of course, it may or may not be completable without a fire source.
Shadyforce dropping in the well, getting a little bit more replenishment on his bombs.
And there's a power glove. Blue mail, 20 bucks, and a bottle. So bottle and flute coming out on that first trip through Kakariko. That's always fun to see. That way you just get to put all those backtracks out of your mind.
Ooh, and well-priced half magic.
As both runners activate those flutes simultaneously. I like it when our runners are actually playing an instrument in sync.
I'm super interested to see if they get an early Moon Pearl because in this Kakariko village. So it'd open up Dark World access, and then on top of that, they could also fake Flipper up to Zoro. Where Zoro's in logic.
Yeah, that's really getting to be on my mind as well. Fake Flipper always possible, of course, but never really tempting to do unless you've got that Moon Pearl so you can trigger the walking state inside the waterfall cave. And Sick Kid just with a piece of heart for us today.
And Shady stealing the money from the back of the tavern. Just one big 20 in there.
That was someone's tip, Shady Force. And Piece of Heart also just having, or Library rather, just having a Piece of Heart today. So those boots staying off the table for the moment.
This seed is really kind with those bombs, with the race game having the bombs there.
Yeah, and oh, we see that early flute coming into play as Shady Force just gets to flute straight to 7 rather than doing the usual tedious, I'm going to save and quit to Link's house, I'm going to walk south. We can just skip through that. I love seeing that early flute.
Shady Force using the mirror to be able to delete one of those blocks while pushing it.
And look at that, sword at the dam already. Hammer, of course, making sword not really required for anything at the moment, but often more efficient and or easier to actually do things with the sword rather than the hammer. Looks like Lenophis is just going to blind gamble the race game, going straight through it. Probably won't see him go through to pick up those bombs when they appear on his screen, but you never know. He is going to grab them. Never mind, he's going to flute away after shaking his non-existent sword a bit.
Shady using the bombs to clean up the mold worms on the sides while using that sword to good use for the middle one.
And was that a Titan's mitt already?
That was definitely Titan's mitts already.
So, less than 13 minutes into the seed, we've got the hammer, we've got both lift upgrades, we can get into the Dark World anywhere, and we can't do anything in there because we don't have the Moon Pearl yet.
And I feel once we do find the Moon Pearl, we're going to see a lot of divergence in the Dark World.
Oh yeah, with so many spots open, I'd be very surprised if these runners went in the immediate same direction. There is, of course, also that weird play that's available now where the runners can get into Desert Palace despite not having the Moon Pearl. They can still go through the Dark World, use the mirror, and get into the desert area that way, which, you know, you never think about doing this, but if there's progression in Checkerboard Cave, the runners might need to go there. And Shady Force is onto that idea already.
And the book on the ledge there. That'd be the other way to get in desert. But it's more efficient to use the mirror.
Yeah, and seeing that book there, we definitely know the way the game intends for them to get into Desert Palace. Nagina's Cave with just another 20 rupee. There are, I believe, 28 of those in the whole game, so never surprising when you see a bunch at the start, but when you've already got 700 rupees, the usefulness of that really starts to drop off.
Shady Force going up Death Mountain now. Gonna go rescue the old man in the dark.
Oh, and this is where having that sword really comes in handy. He's able to stick that out and track himself moving through the cave, rather than trying to, say, use the hammer every 5 steps to make sure he knows where he is.
Lenophis also fluting up to Death Mountain, but not rescuing the old man.
Yeah, it could be he's not confident doing the dark room, or just that he doesn't want to start introducing sequence breaks at this point. He doesn't want to start exploring places that the game clearly doesn't want him to be.
Yeah, sometimes with the sequence breaks, it might lead you off the track. But the old man giving the bow.
So Shadyforce is going to have to keep that in mind, that having the bow was a sequence break, but he takes that chance to do a map check. I believe that was a pendant at Eastern Palace, a green pendant at Desert Palace, and a regular crystal up in Tower of Hera.
Yep, the red crystal over in Eastern. I wonder if he saw that bow and was thinking if Eastern was a crystal to go there right away instead.
You know, I think that's what was on his mind. Renner's seeing a shield upgrade inside Spectacle Rock, opting not to go for it. And Lenophis is going to put off doing Tower of Hera in favor of Eastern Death Mountain, probably hoping that he can dredge up a fire source before he has to set foot in that dungeon. Oh, and look at that bunny sprite on Shadyforce's side as he turns into Microsoft Clippy when in the Dark World.
Boy, it's been many years since I've seen him.
It looks like you're trying to play Link to the Past Randomizer. Would you like some help with that?
Shadyforce entering Tower of Hera first.
Oh, a small key there. That gets me worried that he might need to do the basement here.
Yeah, there's very much that possibility.
And with 20 bucks in the chest at the back of that first room, it is a basement required Hera, so Lenophis may be able to gain a time advantage by having gone over to the right already.
Yeah, he still hasn't found the Moon Pearl, but he's going into Super Bunny Cave.
Yeah, this is a check that we don't see runners able to do very often. As this is in the Dark World, you are in a bunny state, which Lenophis is in now, and technically you can't open chests. However, if you fall down a hole in a cave, the bunny starts being able to do things like open chests. That's why we call it a super bunny. And in this case, Lenophis can open these 2 chests despite being in a bunny state. There's the hook shot already.
Yeah, with that hook shot, depends on what the crystals are in Dark World. This could be a really good sequence break for him.
That's right, and he's going to drop down now, mirror, and check Paradox Cave right after that.
Yeah, Shadyforce being the first one to do so, finds the flippers and some love in there.
And there's our Moon Pearl.
Ooh, Lenophis will wish that he went here first instead of going to the Super Bunny now.
You know what? I think this will still work out. He definitely could have done Super Bunny Cave faster had he not been stuck in his bunny form. Or in this case, his Mario form. But even getting the Moon Pearl now, he's going to be able to check Hookshot Cave. And hopefully, we're going to see a fire source for these runners. So while Lenophis had to do the long and arduous drop-down sequence in Super Bunny Cave, Shadyforce can just use that mirrored block deletion trick, use the mirror while pushing a block, confuse the game, and make that block just disappear entirely.
Lenophis not going back into his Dark World portal, instead it's going up through Paradox Cave. I think this is a shorter journey up the mountain.
It's a shorter journey up, and then I think he's going to go over to the Turtle Rock entrance, open up that Dark World portal, since you're probably going to have to do it at some point, and then you can check where or what medallion you need. As we see, Turtle Rock is a pendant, and crystals 5 and 6 are Skull Woods and Misery Mire.
Well, that's kind of a relief. You don't have to find the ice rod, which can be very elusive at times.
That's right, you don't have to find the ice rod. You probably still have to dip into Turtle Rock because it's Turtle Rock, and that'll require Bombos to open.
Both of our players are going to Hookshot Cave now.
Piece of heart, money, bombs, money. Hookshot Cave really not being impressive today.
Yeah, for so how many items are there? It's kind of a disappointment to see nothing being in there.
So I don't think shadyforce checked that it's Bombos Medallion to open Turtle Rock. And that lack of knowledge might hurt him a bit. He's going to do Spiral Cave right now. And since he's already been to Hera, I think he knows there's nothing of value in there, and we might see him flute away once he's done with this cave.
Yeah, definitely. Don't really got much more you can do here. Lenophis finally going into Tower of Hera after all those checks. Going to be a little disappointed when he does see that it is fire locked.
So as you said earlier, these runners can do pretty much anything right now. Having the whole world open to them. Looks like shadyforce is going to start in the south part of the Dark World at Hype Cave, and may then go on a walk north.
Their Swamp Palace is also open up to them as well, so you might go down to do that. It is a crystal with 6 items in there.
You know, so many runners want to put off Swamp as long as possible so they can go for the go mode clear and avoid the full clear. If shadyforce does that early Swamp Palace play and there's something good there, that'll be a huge time advantage for him. So Lenophis checks the Mire Shed and finds the Fire Rod and 10 arrows. Shadyforce got a bomb upgrade, a piece of heart, a piece of heart, a piece of heart, and a full heart container from Hype Cave, or today, Love Cave.
And with this many hearts, like, it's really not difficult to survive these dungeons, but if you're trying to set up a death warp, which you won't have to do with a mirror, like, it is a really good safety net to have this many this early.
Yeah, especially with the blue mail. The runners are going to be able to not completely ignore their health meters, but certainly it's not going to be a huge concern for them to be able to beat dungeons, as shadyforce picks up another piece of heart and then walks over to slash at that dig spot because he knows that shovel, he's in the lumberjack cave.
So I'm looking at that fire rod that he has. Or wait.
Yeah, he could use that fire rod for Desert Palace, or to head back up to Hera and clear it out. But it looks like he's going to head into Thieves Town. Or rather, the Village of Outcasts area.
The fire rod does open up, like, Mothula and ice. And
Oh, absolutely,
you said possibly
it does.
desert if it's not boots locked. Lenophis entering the Dark World through the town side goes for the chess game and only finds $50 in there.
And I blinked and I missed it. Shady Force went over to the digging game, dug up 20 rupees on his very first shot, and that's it for him there.
Yeah, I really like having just small digs, because then you don't feel as punished if it's nothing good. Some runners do elect to skip that because it could be such a huge time investment.
And Shady Force has that smith, but before turning him in, is going to check on these hammer pegs. Lenophis clearing up the northern portion of the town and C-shaped house. That's the Quake medallion for him. Which does open Misery Mire.
It's really interesting to see that these runners are going to do the side quests around the town before actually entering the Thieves Town. They do have the hammer so they can full clear it.
And Can of Burna from the Smiths.
That turns the blind fight, into very trivial matter. Especially with that half magic they got in tow.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well versed either of these runners are with the scripted blind fight. From the length of the time they've been playing, I expect they know it, but in a pinch, that burn is always going to turn that fight around for you. And Shady Force swipes that bush there, just southeast of the bombable hut. That bush has a 50-50 chance every time you slash it of dropping a bomb, so if you feel a bit low on bombs ever, that's always a good spot to be trying.
Yeah, nice little bomb refund there. It's nice to see.
And Shady Force is doing the chess game as Lenophis heads down to the digging game. Neither runner yet going into Thieves Town. Shady Force might finally be about to do it right here. Yes, he is.
So I'm curious to see if Lenophis is going to loop around and go to like Pod or Swamp. So much you can do right now. It's so hard to make what would be the correct choice, or the more correct choice.
Either one of those could be on the radar. I hope, for his sake, Lenophis doesn't end up going into Palace of Darkness just because he doesn't have the bow to full clear it out. And that may weigh into his decision making. There is that possibility of the early swamp play, which, you know, when you get the mirror the hook shot and the flippers that early, it's got to be weighing on your mind that there could be progression in there.
It looks like the first item in Thieves Town is just more bombs.
Yeah, 4 chests at the front, and all we get are bombs and a bunch of dungeon items, so all the value, if there is any, is going to be in the back half. But of course, Shady Force is not wasting any time doing this clear because it's a crystal. He's got to do it eventually. As Lenophis is going to go through Love Cave and just pick up tons of health, bringing him closer to Shady Force's heart count here.
Shady Force made it to the Hellway fairly unscathed. I think he only took 1 heart of damage there. That hallway can be so brutal sometimes, depending on where the enemies go.
Look, all I want are boots every time I go through that hallway, so that I can just line it up and the enemies can get out of my way. That's never going to happen, but I want it every time.
The second item being a big 20. The Thieves Town is not really paying off just yet.
No, Lenophis made his way up to the pyramid now. We're going to see what's here. Just a big 20 on the pyramid. You know, there's a chance with this routing, he might be headed north here. Because with the flippers, he can walk all the way up to Catfish, mirror, and do the Zora area. Hoping that he can find some progression. He may even be hoping to find a bow here, so that he can go straight into Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, he's getting these like out of the way locations out of the way right away.
There is that subtle shift in the meta that we started to see where, with the new fill algorithms, dungeons are a bit less weighted than they were before, which naturally puts overworld spots into a bit stronger weighting for having progression items. So that may be in his mind. He may just be concerned about, hey, let me get these out of the way locations when they're the least out of the way. I mean, when you're at Pyramid is the best time to check Catfish.
Yeah, like from what I've been noticing, it's either these seeds can be super front loaded, like this one was, where it gives you so many items right away to do whatever you want. But then like sometimes can just have such a bad placement where you have to be running around over and over dipping into dungeons that you don't want to do twice.
Yeah, this is definitely the former kind, and we may be able to avoid a lot of double dips here. But shadyforce making his way through that blind fight, going with the script. He's on phase 3 already, just has to get one more hit, and there goes blind.
Ooh, and there's a Master Sword on the Zora ledge.
That's going to come in handy for Lenophis. If he checked the desert ledge, which I have to assume he did, he's going to know where the book is, and having that book could incent him to go, hey, let me check on those tablets while I can, as Zora just gives a bomb upgrade for 500 rupees.
At 30 minutes in, we get our first crystal over on shadyforce's side, and he's making his way up to what could be Skullwoods, or he's checking the back of Graveyard Ledge, Bumper Cave.
Gonna check on Bumper Cave, yeah, and probably head to Graveyard Ledge, another of those annoying locations where this is the least painful time to go check it.
Yeah, you're already north of the town, you might as well go a little out of the way just to check these two locations. And Bumper Ledge only having another big 20, so if they get the cape, they don't have to return.
And looks like Lenophis has hopped into the water and is electing... I was going to say is electing to go into Ice Palace, but I'm not certain of that right now. He's going to do a hobo check first, at the very least.
We're going to have to wait to see where he flutes to afterwards, to see what's on his mind after checking this.
I mean, with this gear, Ice Palace also becomes tempting to do at this point. But there is that same problem as Swamp has, where you don't want to be doing that if you think there's a chance you can go mode it later.
There's being another heart container over in the Graveyard Ledge.
Oh, and Flute picking him up just as that last arrow from the guard is about to hit him. Looks like he's fluted to 8. He is, I would say, going to head into Ice Palace now.
I think I'd like this. It is an odd location to check. Other runners might not do it right away. And I really enjoy having the hookshot for this because it kills those pen gators in one hit.
Yeah, you know, you'd think the Fire Rod would take out the enemies in the Ice Palace with one hit, but it's terrible on those Pain Gators. Hookshot definitely makes all the difference in this dungeon. And Shadyforce is headed up to the Catfish as well, so he's going to be able to do Zora and get his Master Sword too at this point.
I think there's a possibility that he might be as comfortable with Fighter's Sword Moth. So he's gonna just check that one later. And there's only 2 items up there, so might not be that much value.
Yeah, Fighter Sword Moth is a giant pain to deal with. Half Magic goes a long way towards that fight because you can just stop using your sword and go, hey, let me use the Fire Rod for most of this fight. And Lenophis gets the quick kill on those 2 Stalfos Knights. In his first chest of this dungeon, I think it was just another big 20. So still 2 items to find, and they're going to be deeper in.
It's kind of interesting that he's not going to do the bomb jump.
Yeah, that's an interesting play. Without Cane of Samaria, there is that possibility that there's going to be a small key on Cold Stare. In which case, unless you've done the bomb jump, you can't complete this dungeon. So we'll have to see what the logic allows him to complete right now. Certainly without the bomb jump or the cane, if he wants to finish this dungeon, he's going to have to do the big loop around.
And Shadyforce flew to the Link's house, checking what's on the Lake Hilly Island for himself, and swinging up to Hobo.
Man, that cursor sprite, I'm really enjoying watching it do all these different motions and stay so similar. That swimming animation is just fantastic.
Yeah, we have some really great sprite creators in this community. I'm super impressed by their work.
Ooh, second item in Ice Palace is going to be $50 for Lenophis. Shadyforce looks like he might be going into Ice Palace? No, going up to the Zora area? I'm not entirely sure. Oh, did he skip doing Zora area earlier? He must have.
It looked like he just got what was in the waterfall before going back around. Yeah, he didn't grab the sword yet.
Yeah, okay, he's grabbing that now. That he's going back to pick it up. That makes a lot of sense. When you see trash like that come out of Zora, it's really tempting to save and quit a lot of the time. But obviously with that Master Sword there, you really need that to keep playing and go faster.
Yeah, so far we haven't found any big ticket items over in Ice here.
And that's a heart container, so that'll be the third of the items from that dungeon. Again, Lenophis did not do the bomb jump, so he may have a long road through this dungeon if he wants to clear it up.
It looks like Shadyforce is now entering the mire area.
Yeah, he'll be able to get his Fire Rod right here and sees that it's Quake Medallion to enter Misery Mire. We'll have to see if he ends up going to Ice Palace as well, or decides that he wants to use that Fire Source to beat Tower of Hera. And Lenophis is going to potentially run into some trouble here. He's down to one small key. He's already grabbed the key from this ice room he's in. I believe he needs 2 more to finish the dungeon at this point. And I feel fairly confident he's already got this chest from the iced tea room. He has. So if I've counted the small keys correctly, there's going to be a small key down on Cold Stair, and he's not going to be able to finish this dungeon the conventional way without doing the bomb jump.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
It does give him some insight as to, places he could start looking for the Cane of Samaria, perhaps, knowing that it's going to have to be maybe earlier in the seed than expected, but still going to be a giant pain if he ends up having to come back to this dungeon.
And Shadyforce mirroring, picking up the book, going into desert now. It's pendant, so who knows how much of it he's going to clear.
Chat pointing out a good thing or an important thing, that Lenophis opened the door on the right in this cross room, the door that leads to the spike room. And, there was a potential he could have mirrored out of the dungeon, come back through, and not opened that door, which I believe would have allowed him to get through the dungeon by not opening that small key. But the key logic in Ice Palace is challenging. A Shadyforce finds the silver arrows in desert.
And that is the second item there. The first item was just 10 arrows on the torch. The deed not boots locked.
And it looks like he's going to flute away, opt not to defeat Lanmo at this time, given that it's a long ways to go just for one more item. And that item only coming from the green pendant.
Those silver arrows will come in handy to clear out some of the bosses they need to do. And he's going up to Skull Woods now.
Alright, so Lenophis has made his way down to the bottom of Ice Palace, but can't open that door on the right. And can't advance through this room. So hammers that switch in a bit of frustration. He's going to need to mirror out or save and quit right here. Looks like he's going to continue exploring this dungeon, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. There's the mirror out.
He might be feeling really behind how much time he spent in that Ice Palace just for nothing.
And Shadyforce finds the first item in Skull Woods, being 50 rupees.
Yeah, even after paying Zor, they still have a bunch of money, which they can use for potions if they actually need it.
And it looks like Shadyforce may have skipped the room to the right of the big chest there in Skull Woods. But that makes a lot of sense. He knows he can beat Mothula here. And so he may be headed to the back of the dungeon to try to clear up what he can before he checks everything in the front. Unfortunately gets grabbed by the Wallmaster there.
Yeah, I really like when players go and finish the back first, and then work their way through from the back side of Skull Woods. Because if you gotta kill Moth anyway, you might as well get that out of the way. If it's an item, that's great. You only need to find one more on your way back through.
And Lenophis does an interesting trick there. Goes towards that small key in the room that is guaranteed to have a small key, then mirrors to go back to where he started, so that he's going to be guaranteed to get through this door on the right in the room with a bunch of hallways.
It's a little bit more time consuming, but stealing a key can help.
Yeah, it does mean he can walk straight out of here. He is going to check on the right. And it's another small key. So Shady Force on his way to Mothula here, half magic, meaning that he can just spam that fire rod through the mummy hallway.
Yeah, I believe their bottle they had was a blue potion, so that'll really make this fight easier.
That's right. Mothula takes 4 hits with the hammer to take out 8 shots with the fire rod, 4 spins with the Master Sword, and several more if it's just Master Sword slashes. I think it's 8 again. So with a combination of those and the blue mail, Shady Force should be able to pull this off. But Mothula's going to have to behave a bit more and not just keep going to the top of the room. There we go.
He's
And there's
mob
the
finds the
big
big key. I believe there's 2 more chests for him to look at.
That's right. I think we haven't seen the big chest, and we haven't seen the chest right in the starting room of the back half of Skull Woods. So Shady Force is going to check on that first. And if that doesn't work out, head to the big chest. One of those is going to have some sort of item.
So thinking about like what we need for the dungeons for like go mode, we need
Ooh, that was powder there. Sorry to interrupt.
we need like the lamp, Samaria, and who knows, maybe the boots are required for that shell we saw earlier.
Pedestal just being couch cash is going to save a bit of time for these runners. But yeah, if either of these runners is comfortable doing rooms in the dark, then really at this point we're down to the Cane of Samaria being all that's required to finish this game. And potentially the boots for GT, or if the Cane of Samaria is locked behind that shovel.
Yeah, so Shady Force being the first one to go to the east side of the world here, going to the pod eastern area. And he does have the bow, so he can go through here. And as you said, if he's comfortable in the dark, he can actually hear Halmasaur as well.
Yeah, this could be one of those seeds where knowing your dark rooms front and back just ends up making a huge difference for you. Shady Force picks up Kiki and then realizes, hang on, I never checked Sahasrah's hut. Mirrors here, which I haven't seen that in a long time, causes a Kiki text box to pop up.
Straight in here, and nothing that important.
At this point in the race, I would call it junk, and more junk.
There's still that possibility too, with Desert not being boots locked, that the green pendant might be required.
That's completely right, but I think at this point, it's going to be less on the minds of these runners, as especially on Shady Force's side, he has so many dungeons he can clear out. I expect he'll just start finishing those up as he can before seeing, hey, what overworld locations do I still have to check?
Yeah, there's like a weird, different like style change between these two runners here. It looks like Shady Force is doing dungeons, like prioritizing that, while Lenophis is prioritizing overworld. And follows that magic powder to the bat here.
Unfortunately, I think it was 5 rupees from the magic bat. Lenophis is going to flute away to the village. We might see him do Thieves Town now.
Before slashing the bomb, trying to cut the wick down. Doesn't work that way.
I wish.
So Lenophis is following what you said, going to Thieves Town. It is required, he has to clear it up.
Yeah, and fortunately, Thieves Town, one of those dungeons that it doesn't really matter if you're in go mode or not. You're going to end up clearing pretty much the same path, maybe saving a couple of rooms. So a good one to do earlier, especially when you're missing a couple of items like he is. Since Lenophis still needs that bow from the old man's cave.
Yeah, like Shadyforce rescuing the old man has really paid off. Nice little save and quit point, as well as getting that bow early.
And right side of Palace of Darkness, not giving Shadyforce anything just yet. He's going to have to backtrack a minute here to flip that crystal switch.
Yeah, the front of
Go ahead.
Yeah, the front of pod is very key heavy, just to allow you to get through to all the chests.
In fact, that front half of pod, everything before the door Shadyforce just opened, is guaranteed to have at least 4 small keys in it, so you can make sure you don't lock yourself. There is an option of, potentially saying, hey, I know there's going to be a key in the vanilla big key spot. I don't even have to go there. But that's always a hard thing to route in, and you don't always have the information for it. Shadyforce now heading into dark rooms. We're going to have to see, or rather, watch a sword sparkle move around to see how this goes for him.
Yeah, this horseshoe is very straightforward. Just go straight down, like head to the right a tiny bit once you get to the bottom, go a little bit to the left, open the chest, and repeat on the other side.
As we see Shadyforce pause and look at his menu after getting that chest, I didn't see anything come out of that, so that may have been a compass. I know we saw the map earlier, or it might just have been an arrow or a bomb upgrade.
But he's entering the dark maze now. This was a little bit more difficult of a dark room to do.
This is why many players have a map of this room saved on their computer somewhere, or in some cases I know runners will print the maps out so they have a hard copy they can follow along with. A sword, of course, makes this significantly easier. It looks like Shadyforce is headed down into the bottom area, or he might still just be trying to get to that first chest at the top.
I think he got to the top. I think he's towards the bottom now. Yep, going left, down, right, and there'll be a chest here. And looks like 300 rupees.
Given how long that rupee timer's ticking up and up and up and up, I'd say so.
And he successfully went to the dark maze.
All that for 5 rupees. I think he's pausing here for a second to evaluate how he feels about doing Helmasaur in the dark. And he's opted to say, yeah, I can do this.
I think the trickiest part about going to Helmasaur in the dark is that turtle room.
Oh, there's no question that's the hardest room. The first couple basement rooms, you can basically feel your way by the walls. Fortunately, that fire rod's going to make Turtle Room significantly easier.
Entering with the hammer, just do one little hammer bump on them, and then grab the fire rod, try and light a torch. If you miss a torch and hit a flip turtle, just a bonus.
And Lenophis cleans up that blind fight, going to get his second crystal.
Doing map check just to make sure what's crystal and what's not. I'm still curious as to where that lamp is.
You know, with how much of this seed opened up for our runners at the start, as we were talking about earlier, I wouldn't be surprised to see that lamp somewhere kind of mean or nasty. Like if it showed up in the big chest of Misery Mire, I would not be surprised in the slightest at this point. Having that early fire rod means that torch rooms were doable fairly early on, and so that takes out a lot of the reason for an early lamp. Heck, if the Cane of Samaria becomes available soon, we might even see something mean like Lamp in Mimic Cave, which is one of those things that just really gives the advantage to the player who knows their dark rooms. Shadyforce doing really well here with the turtles, since he was able to capitalize on that fire rod.
Lenophis making his way to Swamp now. With 6 items here, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the bow, which is I think what he really needs, we know that that bow is up on Death Mountain, locked behind the lamp. But without that knowledge, I can see the argument for clearing out Swamp Palace fully and getting those 6 items and hoping maybe one of them is the bow. Heck, for all we know, it could be that lamp or it could be the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, if it is the lamp, it will lead him towards that old man cave eventually. Get the bow there. The 17 hammer hits to the mask there to break it. No one would be surprised to see him switch to the bow for one clean shot to the crystal.
Oh, it looks like Shadyforce is going for those wicked hammer strats where you can do it in just 4 hits of Master Sword spins or hammers, but those hammers are hard to line up. Nicely done on his part, getting 2 of those so quickly. And there's our Cane of Samaria. So, if Shadyforce is as comfortable doing the Mire Dark rooms as he was in Palace of Darkness, and as long as that Ganon's Tower Big Key isn't on the torch, less than an hour into this race, Shadyforce is in go mode.
Shady, I believe, doesn't know what it is to open up Turtle Rock, so that's not even a question on his mind yet.
That's right, that's something he doesn't have to worry about entirely.
Or if Lenophis finds the bombos and then clears out Pod. But that's probably not a possibility because of the bow lamp situation.
That's right. So, you know, with the way he's beeline towards Ice Palace instead of, you know, going up to something like Hera or Misery Mire, I feel like shadyforce is still intending to do this dungeon in go mode. And that's going to be really nice for him. Just being able to skip that entire right side that Lenophis ended up clearing. But man, he's going to have to really hope that the boots aren't required for that key on the torch. If those end up being required, he's going to have a lot of area he needs to recheck. But the odds of that are, what, less than 5%? So I don't blame him for just assuming, hey, I'm in go mode, I'm going to beat everything I can right now.
Lenophis checking the left side of swamp. It's very time consuming to check 2 chests.
That's right. Fortunately, having the hook shot makes it slightly less painful. You only have to go through that upstairs room the one time. There's a shield upgrade. We know that third shield is up inside Spectacle Rock.
And the red meringue. So this left side check did have 2 items, so they probably would have doubled back in if they went straight back anyway. But not really paying off.
No, and we did see shadyforce pull off that Ice Palace bomb jump, so he's going to stick with that go mode strat. Oh, using the very nice double bombs on the floor to take out all those Pain Gators in a hit. Normally, you'd love to be able to bonk over that line of Pain Gators, but of course, without the boots, that's an impossibility.
And as you said, he didn't go to that right side, so he might be just go moding it. And that's definitely what he's doing.
So Swamp Palace looks to be coming up pretty dry progression-wise for Lenophis at this point. I think the only thing that he could get that would help him out is, you know, maybe a sword upgrade or potentially that lamp.
Yeah, or boots would be kind of helpful too.
I'm a bit worried about boots at this point, actually. It might send him on the wrong path where he ends up doing Egg Tower. But I suppose he's not doing Egg Tower without the lamp.
Yeah, I feel like the boots would only just lead him to, like, the King's Tomb and the Bonk Rocks, and that'll be about it. He went back for the big chest, and it only had a hero upgrade.
And just to answer a question in chat, we did get a Lumberjack Cave check earlier, and it was the shovel, which always is going to lead to some anxiety for the runners. Fortunately, in this case, the only things we haven't seen are the lamp and the boots. And we know that neither of those can be locked behind the Lumberjack Cave, because, hey, they're required to get to the Lumberjack Cave.
Shady picked up his 4th crystal, making his way down to what looks to be swamp.
Yeah, and if he treats that remotely the same way he treated Ice Palace, he's going to be go-moding all that. He's going to gain some significant time on Lenophis, who still looking for that lamp and bow, and Samaria cleared out the whole dungeon.
Using just Master Sword swings, requires 2 hits per little puff.
That's right, it requires 2 hits, and you actually want to pause very slightly between those 2 swings. We see Lenophis slashing as fast as he possibly can, and that means his second slash hits the puff during its iframe, and so he ends up needing to do a third slash.
Still faster than doing menu strats by switching
Oh.
to the hammer.
Absolutely it is. And he's switching to Fire Rod for this second phase of the fight, mainly because Fire Rod only takes 2 hits, which is going to be less than Master Sword spins. Actually, apparently Fire Rod takes more hits than just 2.
And just a big 20 on him.
Oh no.
So I'm wondering if Lamp is on one of the tablets.
You know, Shady Force did pick up that book from the Desert Ledge. Both tablets have been in play for a long, long time at this point. They could definitely hold Lamp. Oh no, and Lenophis has fluted over to Area 5. He's going into the Dark World. Looks like he's going to try to clear out Palace of Darkness. And without the bow from the old man, that's not going to work for him.
Yeah, and it wasn't bow locked either, so he's going to be going through there and clearing out as much as he can.
That's right, though. I don't know how much Lenophis has kept up with the new glitches. With that new potion glitch, it's really hard to consider Pod being bow locked for anything beyond the boss at this point. Although that new tech is a bit weird, and I don't even know if Lenophis still has a bottle available.
Yeah, it looked like his bottle was empty. Shady Force just grabbing these couple of chests here on the back of Swamp. Not that out of the way, and they're pretty close together.
I see the value in still checking a couple of these easy chests. He's only on the Master Sword. He knows he had a relatively early go mode, under an hour, but he still wants to check things he can and see if he can pull off that Tempered. At this point, he's probably very thankful he found the Silvers over in Desert Palace, because much as you'd love Tempered Sword for Ganon, at least with Silver's Master Sword, Ganon isn't a disaster.
Yeah, the difference between just having to do spin slashes while he's trying to teleport him away versus Silver's is a huge difference. Especially if you're able to get doubles in there. Shady's standing a little bit too close to Argus. Puffs go back immediately, so he can't slash it. Now he's standing a bit further away.
Ooh, taking a bit of a beating from those repeated puff cycles coming out. But, you know, this is where that health we saw at the start of the Seed and that early Blue Mail really start to come in handy. Because, yeah, he's getting hit a bunch, but ultimately it doesn't matter too much when you can tank that much damage. And a very nice shot with the Silver Arrow takes out Argus in one go for the second phase.
Yep, and just another boss where it only requires one hit with a Silver Arrow.
Just wait till we get to Misery Mire. That second arrow for Vitreous is going to blow your mind.
Lenophis lighting up the room. Makes this a lot easier to check.
That was the big key on the left side in the bottom.
Shady making sure to kill that bird because with Quake doesn't affect it because it is flying, so it deal damage to him while he's opening it up.
That's right, and this may be the dungeon we actually see Shady Force clear out a fair amount of. Just, you know, sometimes that big key can be hiding later on in your clearing. not even by design, you end up getting both of the items from the dungeon.
Yeah, he's really hoping to see it being one of the first 2 chests that he would normally check. Just makes this dungeon way faster.
It looks like Lenophis has headed that way as well. Unfortunately, this is going to be another bottleneck for him, or another dead end, I should say. The biggest hope I have for him would be that he comes across Lamp, so he can do that old man's cave, but looks like he's headed into desert. He's going to get those silvers at least.
There's still the possibility that he might clear this out just for the green pendant, but it's not very likely that he will.
Oh, now here's something fun about Shadyforce's routing that he's done. I really like seeing this because it's so hard to actually make it happen. There's the big key in that second chest. He has to go straight to Vitreous. And then that'll be 6 crystals. So what he can do is head all the way up Death Mountain, enter the Dark World, go in front of Ganon's tower, mirror to Tower of Hera, and then step into that portal and be at GT already. You almost never get to actually pull that off, but it's tons of fun when you can manage it.
Alright, trying to find the pot in the dark to reveal the switch. Kind of difficult to do. I believe if you just hold left and that little corner wall, that diagonal wall, will almost put you right next to that pot there.
Yeah, that is hard to pull off if you get a bit separated from that spot. So instead what he opts to do is place a block along the bottom of the room. It looked like he then walked up to the switch to figure out where it was horizontally. And then he just picked up that block, threw it onto the switch, and it bounces exactly the right amount. Both strats work for getting through that room, but that's definitely the hardest part of this underground area of Mire.
Yeah, I really like the block throw in the dark. Like you said, if you just stand about like 1 square to the right on the bottom left there, you can just toss it straight up and it'll land almost on it every time.
Yeah, and distances are so hard to judge, especially when you're trying to do it in the dark, that just picking up that block, throwing it, and having it land on the switch you need, it ends up looking pretty darn cool.
Yep, making it through the dark room with almost no trouble at all. He's starting his Vitreous fight in just a second.
Over on Lenophis' side, we do see him going all the way to the back of Desert Palace. He's got those 2 items, so this is solely to get the green pendant for a turn into Sahasrahla.
Silver Arrow is making very quick work of this boss fight.
Oh, that's always nice to see. And as we said earlier, Vitreous being that only boss that requires more than 1 silver to take out. 2 into the eye, and there he goes, putting Shadyforce at a big 6 crystals. An hour and 14 minutes into the seed. That is some great timing he's doing.
Lenophis making quick work of the Landmolus fight using the Fire Rod. Just 2 shots per Landmolus.
And Lenophis is going to head to Sahasrahla and turn in that green pendant. Let's see, maybe this will be the lamp, which we still haven't managed to come across here.
It's really interesting how someone can just take a seed, do 1 small sequence break, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
That's absolutely right. Having that early bow just kind of made everything fall into place. With that bow, you're immediately inclined to say, let me clear out Palace of Darkness. And when you get the cane dropping from there, plus all the other front loading this seed had, you just go, okay, fine. I guess I'm in go mode. I guess I won't look for the lamp if that's the way you want to play it.
Yeah, like the lamp being the bottleneck of this can really hurt. As you said, it could be in very odd locations, like in the McCave or the big chest in Turtle Rock. Lenophis looks like he's going to do a pedestal check.
Yeah, shadyforce already made that check and found out it wasn't required. It is just some couch cash. And as shadyforce walks by the hookshot cave there again, I'm just reminded by how terrible hookshot cave was in this seed. I haven't seen a hookshot cave that bad in a long time.
When it gives you like so many items right away, there's a bigger possibility that it does turn up empty.
And shadyforce gets to do that great trick where you just mirror at Hera and do Hera right before Ganon's tower, which sounds so wrong.
One thing I kind of like about this, just on like a mental standpoint, is that he gets to have this nice little coffee break here to just relax his nerves, just think about what's going on, and just be confident going into Ganon's tower afterwards.
Yeah, you know, a lot of runners, when they get to this point in the race, when they've got 6 crystals, they're picking up their 7th. They probably get pretty worried about their standing. But shadyforce has followed so few false leads, gone in so few directions that didn't pay off, that I expect this is one of those cases he actually can feel pretty comfortable in what he's done. Lenophis flutes up to the mountain, but doesn't go into the old man's cave just yet.
I think he's still just trying to follow the logic. He just checked Bombo's tablet, he's working his way up to Ether tablet, and he might do Tower of Hera as well.
Now that he has the fire rod, that is certainly on the table for him.
Yeah, if we find Lamp and Tower of Hera, it must feel a little awful just having a fire source be fire locked. And it being available for so long.
You know, it's pretty often that I see Bombos being your way into Ice Palace because Fire Rod's inside Ice Palace. By the same token, it wouldn't surprise me too much if Lamp ends up being locked behind the other fire source. Now, the Lenophis is going to check Spike Cave before heading further, though. Cane of Burn are going to make this easy enough to get through.
All that pain for a piece of heart.
Well, at least it's a heart refill there. So rather than saving quitting out, he's going to opt to just walk out of this room. Still not sure which one's faster, but it's not very often you get to do the walkout.
Shadyforce now fighting Moldorm will require 3 spin slashes.
As long as you can make sure that it's spins that get pulled off so you get tempered damage, the Moldorm fight's going to go fine. All it takes is a poke or a slash with the Master Sword, and you can accidentally send him into that super speed phase.
I'm curious
7 crystals. You're curious.
as to where the Ganon Tower Big Key is going to be.
I mean, how many spots are there in the basement of Ganon's tower?
I believe there's 22 locations it could be.
And Do we like to play a little game where you try to guess where it's going to be?
Yeah, there's a number I like to guess. I like guessing 6 myself.
6. So the third chest in the Stalfos room, according to quote-unquote conventional routing, that'd be a good one to see. My hope is just that it's not the torch, because that's going to really mess with Shady Force.
Checks the first 2 chests on the right. Just a bunch of money in there, no key, so he's going left.
Oh. He even tugs on that torch to show off that, yeah. I know that I don't have the boots. Good thing it wasn't there.
Four more chests in this room. Key. Just the key room.
And a piece of heart.
So 6 locations down, so my guess isn't right.
7 down, counting the torch. Chest 8 in the firebar room is Bombos. If you're a Lenophis fan, that's actually a fantastic thing to see at this point, because it means that Lenophis isn't going to get dragged into Turtle Rock ever, looking for that lamp. Lenophis did get the second item out of Tower of Hera from the big chest, but it was just a hard container.
That lamp is really eluding him.
And chest 9 had a bottle for Shady Force. We have not seen one of those in a long time, not since the first couple minutes of this seed. Let's see what Randomizer room has to offer.
Just some extra arrows for going up the tower. Some love, more love, and the key.
If you guessed chest 13, then you won today, and you get the great prize of being correct on the internet, which is so rare that I hope you cover this, or covet that. All right, Lenophis picks up his 4th crystal from taking out Moldor. Gonna check the ether tablet. It's just 10 arrows.
Yeah, there's not very many places left you can check.
I think Misery and Myers where he's going now, and that's what jumps to my mind as places he can still check that might possibly have a lamp. Now, if he finds the boots here, that'll open up a couple more locations for the Bonk's Rock and the King's Tomb. But still not going to make it clear to him where that lamp could be hiding. Unfortunately, this is going to turn into a double dip in Misery Mire for him. Because whether or not he finds that lamp, he's going to have to leave to get the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, and he has to go get the bow first before even doing that. Shady4 is using the fire rod to clear out these rooms.
Hey, when you have half magic, and you don't want the incredible amounts of lag that the silver arrows can put on, why not do it? Especially because that skeleton in this room entirely covered by ice, it can dodge your bow shots, but it's never dodging a fire rod shot like that.
And it does one-shot all the enemies here.
Oh, switching to silvers for the Lanmo 2 fight gets it in one cycle. Very nice shots. Easy enough to do if you know the rhythm, but that Medusa shooting fireballs can always still mess with you at the last minute.
Yeah, try and line up a shot, just get pushed back. And just throw you out of rhythm for the rest of the fight.
Having a level 2 shield mitigates that very slightly, but that alone is never worth going out of your way to pick up the shield if it's, say, in Spectacle Rock like we saw it here. Shadyforce is going to have to ride that conveyor rather than dashing through that room, as most runners like to do. Works really nicely for him as the enemies stayed on the right.
Yeah, they're really cooperative today. Normally, like, if you get hit and get bumped off, you have to start going on the conveyor belts only as the floor is falling beneath you.
Yeah, and I really like what Shadyforce did there. He missed doing a torch before he fell into the pit, and so he just went left and then back right, and because that leaves the tile that the room is actually sitting in, it resets the whole state of the room, puts out all the torches, and you can just start fresh rather than waiting for it to empty. We might see Shadyforce check on a couple chests here, because he is still hoping for a Tempered Sword.
And that's one fish quest we don't have to worry about.
And Lenophis finds red mail in the big key chest of Misery Mire. Still only one item from the dungeon, so he's going to keep checking the right side for something.
Oh, releasing the bee, so he's going to go capture a fairy here, or at least try to. And the bee coming back to taunt him.
If it comes down to it, we do have the flute, so grabbing more potions for that Ganon fight is not a massive time sink for Shadyforce. He's going to do this Moldrum 2 fight. Again, needs 3 spin slashes. Gets them pretty quickly. And is he going to find Tempered Sword in this last chest? He's going to bomb it and not even look for Tempered Sword. Very gutsy play.
Yeah, putting on a show, he must feel very confident that he's ahead.
I mean... Oh, there's the lamp in the right side of Misery Mire for Lenophis. So that does mean he's going to be able to head into that dark part of Death Mountain and get the bow, but it's not going to matter at this point. Shadyforce has reached Ega 2. That is a devilish location to put the lamp.
Yeah, it's very hard to like convince yourself to dip into a dungeon that has dark rooms already. Search for the lamp.
Oh, it looks like Lenophis is going back into Palace of Darkness. But Shadyforce had a very nice Ega 2 fight, getting off a triple. I think that was a 3 cycle. And with almost a full bar of health, he's going to get to go to fight Ganon.
Ganon's still very dangerous. With Blue Mail, he still hurts a lot with his hugs.
You know, the magic cape isn't that great of an item most of the time. It takes a second to activate after you've pulled it out. It drains a fair amount of magic. Ganon teaching us some little history facts about aviation. But this is that one case where if you have the cape, you can just sit there and constantly spin slash Ganon, and it makes your fight go so much faster. Kane of Samaria will not let you do spin slashes. So that's going to be off the table. Shadyforce is just going to be doing this the slow, the hard, the painful way, needing 12 spins per cycle. What he can do is wedge himself in the corner next to the wall and get these double spins off for some extra damage. This working out really well for him, but ooh, Firebat's hurt.
Ganon being pretty cooperative and staying near the sides of the room where you can get these double slashes off. But the second phase is very difficult using just the Master Sword swing or spin slashes.
This is where that blue potion that they picked up, 7 minutes into the run, comes in really handy. Shady Force drinks that, takes a huge chunk of damage from those fire bats, but he's still going with this. Meanwhile, Lenophis, making his way through Eastern Palace, picked up the blue boomerang.
So maybe he's hoping to find the bow here.
Oh, clever use of the Cane of Samaria, or the Cane of Burna there, just to protect Shady Force as he goes through this. Ooh, he's down to 1 heart. He's got to be very careful, but he must surely... Yeah, we're on to phase 3 of Ganon. He's past the hard part.
Yeah, at this point you just don't want like spin slash into him and fall off the edge. Because he does bump you a fair bit once you hit him.
Yeah, and the other thing that makes this fight tricky in phase 3 is when you have your sword out charging, you walk so much slower. And so you have to be able to get that hit off on Ganon before the fire bat activates, or you might just get stunned by the stomp and the fire bat will still get you. It gets easier when Ganon hops less, which just happened there. Shady Force still in this fight. Yes, he did find the silvers.
Doesn't get the torch glitch.
It doesn't quite get the double hit there, but that's 2 hits already. He's really getting close. Ganon almost getting to the bottom and hitting him. That's 3. Lenophis finds Tempered Sword over in Eastern Palace, but Shady Force doesn't need it at this point. That is a win for him. Coming through the Master Sword Ganon fight with 1 heart left. Congratulations, we'll get his official time as he walks through this door. And it's 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 22 seconds. Congratulations to him.
That is a blazing fast time. Like 140s, 150s, that's considered fast. Like over 2 seems about average, but 130 is a very fast time.
Yeah, you know, this was one of those seeds where, and we saw this from Lenophis, who's just now rescuing the old man, the willingness to do those sequence breaks, to go through places without the lamp, really ended up hitting off for Shady Force. The logic wanted you to go into Mire just to get the lamp, so you could rescue the old man to get the bow, so you could kill Helmasaur to get the Cane of Samaria, so you could go back to Misery Mire. Just kind of a nasty sequence the game wanted to put you through. As Lenophis is going to head back to Eastern and reuse his portal. A clever little play there. But on Shady Force side, the ability to just say, you know what, I'm going to do dark rooms. I don't care. I'll work out the logic in my head. It put him in go mode over half an hour ago. I think that just made him blow through this seed.
And like some dark rooms are very difficult to do, so it's a really good showing of skill on his part as well.
Yeah, you know, that turtle room becomes a lot more playable when you can light the torches. But the dark maze play we saw from Shady Force, as well as that Mire basement play, throwing the block onto the switch, that's something that doesn't happen without practice. The time he put into that really paid off. We're going to see if we can get him in for an interview. But of course, if he chooses not to join us, that's completely fine.
I believe I read a hood for a hood from the witch's hut little thing there. which I think is the cape.
I believe that's correct.
Looks like Lenophis is making his way back through.
And we are joined by Shadyforce, who has just won this race. Congratulations. That was a heck of a time you put in.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that was quite fun. That was a very friendly seed, I think.
Yeah, well, a lot of this seed hinged on your willingness to say, dark rooms, who cares?
Yeah, I guess I've finished a few seeds in the past, lampless, so it gives me confidence that I don't need to go looking for it. I can just ignore it and just go do what I can't finish anyway.
Yeah, so we, just a couple of minutes ago, we saw that lamp finally surface. It was in the big chest of Misery Mire.
Well, that's an annoying place to have it. It's always hidden in some late dungeon. Even though you should have it earlier, it's always hidden late.
Yeah, I think the relative earliness of that fire rod maybe made it a bit later in the logic, although I guess at that point it was only behind Quake in addition to the fire rod. But yeah, we saw Lenophis just pick it up, which means he was significantly delayed in finding that bow that you got, I think, before you had stepped into any dungeons.
Yeah, one of the first things I did was just hop up to the mountain and I can just go through to see the old man. It was a good find, actually. I was glad to find it.
Yeah, like
So
based
you-
on perspective, it wasn't that nice of a seed, as you said, where the lamp was placed.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think I also got lucky in that I found the fire rod just before I was going to go to pod, because I'm a lot less comfortable doing the pod dark rooms without the fire rod. I would probably end up putting pod off for longer and trying to search other places and wasting more time. So I was quite lucky the fire rod appeared when it did, because then it makes those dark rooms manageable for me anyway.
Yeah, well, that's a sentiment a lot of runners share. I know I certainly do. So you beat Helmasaur. You get the Cane of Samaria, and then you kind of paused when the dungeon finished, looked at your map for a second. Were you kind of in shock that you had hit go mode less than an hour in?
Yeah, that was exactly it. I was like, am I really in go mode? Is that all I need? And a couple of times later on, I kind of had a quick map check just to check I hadn't mismarked any crystals. So yeah, I was actually just making sure I was in go mode, because the cane, I found the cane, and then I had to check, make sure there wasn't anything else I needed, which there wasn't.
Well, nothing except potentially those boots. How big was your sigh of relief when you saw the compass on the torch?
Massive sigh of relief. I was so worried because that cane, the boots could otherwise have been in like Ice Palace or Misery Mire or any of those dungeons I just go moded, and I don't know where I would start searching. I would have panicked so much.
Heck,
How did you feel about seeing that shovel over in the lumberjack cave there?
Yeah, that was funny too, because I remember there wasn't. I think maybe the day before yesterday there was a race where there was a fetch quest on the lumberjack and they had to get it. So I immediately thought, oh no, do we have to go and do this? But having said that, because we didn't get cape or lamp early, it did make me think that there's much less of a chance for progression. So I wasn't so worried about it as the seed progressed.
Yeah, you were able to eliminate it, and even though you were worried about boots at the end, the nice thing about boots is that they're going to block you from getting whatever's in Lumberjack Cave. So at least you had that assurance.
Yeah, at that point, a lumberjack, I guess, was always dead. It could never really hold my go mode out.
Oh, and Lenophis has just picked up the Cane of Samaria from Helmasaur. So that'll put him into go mode, assuming he's not worried about the boots. And right now, he's only got Ice Palace left to clear. Oh, I'm sorry, Ice Palace and Misery Mire.
Yeah, they should both be quick enough. There's a friendly key position, big key position in Misery Mire at Ice Palace. It's quick enough to do in go mode. So, oh, and he has the Tempered Sword, I see. So he should probably be happy.
Yeah, he pulled that out of the vanilla big key chest in Eastern Palace.
Oh, right. Yeah, I never went into Eastern at all in this seed, as it happens.
No, I can imagine a scenario where you would have checked that after beating Helmasaur, but with the way the seed played out, that suddenly became a lot less of a priority.
Earlier on, I was actually considering beating Desert so that I could get the green pendant, so that I could combine the early Sahasrara check with the green pendant and do Golden Eastern at the same time. I thought that would have been funny, but then in the end, I decided it wasn't really worth the time.
Yeah, in Lenophis' search for the lamp, he ended up grabbing that green pendant.
Yeah, it was really the lamp that made this race change, because Lenophis ended up he full cleared ice but without the bomb jump, so because of that key on Cold Stare he couldn't complete it, and he ended up full clearing Swamp. Just a lot of extra areas he ended up going to, whereas I'm looking at your finished screen now. That's a 132 collection rate. That is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty low. That's one of my lowest in the new Logic. I know there've been a lot of fast seeds, but I don't think I've had any, but now I've had one, so I'm... I think that might even be a randomizer PB for me, actually. That's a pretty good time.
Oh, well, for all that PB's mean in Randomizer, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, they don't mean that much, but still.
It certainly feels better when you can lower that maximum time, or that minimum time you've used to beat a seed, because it does, even if you can't directly compare seeds, indicate a good comparison against yourself.
Yeah, lets you know, like, reassures yourself that you are a really good player and you're actually able to do really fast seeds in a fast manner.
Well, I don't know about really good. I had some funny moments in this seed, like forgetting the Master Sword on the Zora ledge. That was a bit silly.
I wasn't going to draw attention to that, but yeah, we were a bit baffled that you suddenly found yourself, or we suddenly saw you going back to Zora's domain. It was, hang on, I thought he was just there.
Yeah, I saw the sword and I thought, oh, I better pick that up. And then I got Zora's item, and then I saw that I didn't need it. And then my first thought was, well, I save and quit. That's what I always do from Zora. So I did it, and then I instantly realized that I had left the sword there.
So with winning this race, I believe that puts you at a record of 1-1 throughout this tournament. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Any special preparation you're doing week to week to try and improve and keep that win record going, or are you focusing any particular spots in your practice?
I'm mostly focusing on some of the item escapes, so Burna escape, Bombs escape, and I'm also trying to practice some of the bosses under equipped, like a Fighter Sword Moth or a Master Sword Ganon or a Master Sword Trinex, because I've recently done the NMG tournament, and I've done a lot of the normal boss practice for that, but the under equipped stuff might be rusty because I haven't done so much rando lately.
Well, you certainly almost gave me a heart attack at points during that Ganon fight.
Yeah, that was not my best. I really wanted to grab a fairy for extra safety from the room before Muldrum 2, but I failed.
Yeah, we saw the attempt for that, and then the fairy did what fairies so often don't do, and it just ran straight into you.
Yeah, fairies have a habit of doing the opposite of what you want.
And the bee flying back into the room just adds insult to injury there.
Yeah, he followed along with me as well, as if he was gonna help me kill Mulder too. That was quite funny.
I mean, if you take a bee into the Moldorm 2 room, it can't fall there. And players can. So, really, what's more effective, a bee or a player?
Bees are always the MVP, aren't they?
I certainly like to think so. Over on Lenophis' side, he has entered the Ice Palace, and again opting not to do that bomb jump. Fortunately, this time with Kana Samaria, he's going to be able to clear out the dungeon.
Oh, so he couldn't do it the first time because Cold Stare has the small key.
That's right, he was going for the normal bomb jumpless clear, which works as long as that last key isn't hiding on Cold Stare.
That's really unlucky, actually.
Yeah, he was actually into Ice Palace before you were. You both did Death Mountain approximately in sync, and then he went straight to the Mire area, got the Fire Rod, and said, "I'm going to use this to do Ice Palace."
Yeah, it's about the same time you're picking up your Master Sword was when he was in Ice Palace.
Well, that's pretty early then. Yeah, that's quite a good move. I mean, if he got did he get the Fire Rod before me?
Oh,
Or
yes.
about the same time.
No, he got the Fire Rod first. You had, if I remember right, you did an early fluke to the desert area, saw the book on the ledge, grabbed Agina's cave, and then didn't go back there for a while. But he made the early play into the Mire area, got that Fire Rod, and pretty early on knew what Quake was, or knew Quake was required for Mire. And Lenophis uses that Fire Rod a bit in Phase 2, as well as just the sheer power of the Temperate Sword to clear up Cold Stare. That is 7 crystals for him. You're welcome to Shadyforce, you're welcome to stick around here, or if you need to take off, feel free to do so. We are going to stick around and commentate the rest of Lenophis' run.
Oh, thanks. I'll stick around and watch him finish. Going to Ganon Tower now.
Yeah, so no players getting the boots makes me think it might have been in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think, especially with Bombo showing up where it did. We certainly, for Lenophis' sake, we were certainly pleased to see Bombo show up in Ganon's Tower, just as somewhere that it couldn't end up being a red herring of saying, hey, go into Turtle Rock for your lamp. And if Lenophis doesn't try to make a right side gamble here, he should be able to pick up that big key in about slot number 10, 11, 12, or 13, depending on what order he does chests in the rando room.
I'm just making the same play Shadyforce did and checking the right side first.
Oh, and he
Oh.
is going to go right side.
Can I be seeing what's in the tile room?
Well, he's pulled out that powder. It looks like he's going to sit through this and see first off the bat if tile room is going to have a big key for him. This is one of those rooms I wish I had cape for at this point. Just so you can turn invisible, grab the wall, and use no magic. But hey, it's not like it's hard to get through this room.
Yeah, it's only really annoying if you kind of like lose your attention and get grabbed by the hand.
I hope he finds the boots here. That would be cool.
The ice rod.
Wow, the Turtle Rock care package hiding out in Ganon's tower.
You know, now I'm curious, what is in the chest at the very top of Ganon's tower? Is you bombed
I would
that
love
one.
to know, but yeah, someone just bombed it and then didn't even open it looking for a tempered sword.
If that is a sword, I will laugh so hard.
I mean, now that we saw the tempered sword for Lenophis come out in Eastern Palace, definitely lowers the odds of it being a sword there, but does make it all the more hilarious if that turns out to be where the fourth sword was.
Resetting the room just to get that pot back.
Yeah, shadyforce, I have to say I was a huge fan of that play you made in the first torch room, where you accidentally missed lighting a torch, and so you just walked left and right to reset the room. Obviously, you want to avoid doing that if you can manage it, but that's a nicer way to cope rather than just saying, oh god, let me wait for the torches to go out.
Yeah, I got ahead of myself. I walked off the platform before I put the torch instead of after. But I knew I wasn't going to make the cycles. Just walked out and did.
I don't know if he's about to grab his big key and then make his way up the gauntlet here in just a minute. Yeah, that early dip into desert and finding those silver arrows really helped make the seed a bit faster.
I think it was especially helpful for Vitreous because I didn't have a lot of health and I only had the Master Sword. I was actually more, well, I wouldn't say I'm more worried about that than Ganon, but I was worried about that, and then I was happy when I realized I had the silvers.
Yeah, and that was a really nice Lanmo 2 fight you pulled off.
Yeah,
As
I
well
almost
as-
never get that one cycle. I was so happy with myself. That was really good.
As well as that setup for getting the single arrow shot on Argus. That's not a way I've approached that fight before, making sure he drops in the corner so that you can arrow him, but certainly something I'm going to be practicing now.
Yeah, I find that works best for me to be on the bottom corner, or at least on the bottom wall, because if you hit it too late or too early, he might bounce off the wall and go back up into your shot.
Oh, Lenophis having a bit of trouble in this fourth room of the gauntlet, as that Zyzax just runs up and around from him. There we go, he's across that ice.
Yeah, they're just having such a small hitbox. Hard to hit those guys when they move around so much.
Yeah, last room of the gauntlet goes a lot easier for him, and he now is onto that Landmo 2 fight.
Doesn't get the one cycle, but gets one of them at least.
Oh, that arrow unfortunately going right between the two Landmos. It's a hard fight to line up those shots. He looks like he might be switching over to the Tempered Sword. A good play at this point.
Yep, 2 spin slashes is all it takes.
I love that use of the fire shield. Oh, you think Medusa's going to hit you with a fireball? No.
You mean when he stands at the top of the room and then just turns around to ping the shield? I love that. It's really fun.
That's the one, yeah.
This is the bottom right one in the first shot, but gets the rest of them on the second shot there.
Oh, those sentries on the bridge not behaving the same way they did for Shadyforce, but still nice enough to let him through. And Lenophis hits torches 1, gets those 2 off. I do like the tactic of lighting 2 of the torches and then falling in. If you have the health available to just tank that damage, it does make the room a lot less precarious to try to rush through.
Gonna recover some health back off these fairies.
Oh, unfortunately, those switches being in the wrong position meant he couldn't get the Bunny Beam Fairy. But shouldn't be a problem having this much health and Tempered Sword to go into Ganon. Not having to do those spins makes it a lot easier, but ooh, taking the hit and the fall to Trolldorm.
Yeah, he did find the red mail too.
Oh, that's right, he did. That may have been in a chest in Misery Mire, or perhaps Eastern Palace.
And just a piece of heart on the top of the Gan's tower.
Well, good news for Shadyforce, it didn't end up being a sword.
Whew, thankfully. That is very lucky.
Here, these mini Helmosaurs kind of pushing him off the edge. I'm like using the Cane of Burna for that, just to walk by them.
Ooh, not lining up those shots in the first phase. That was a weird set of patterns he got in Cycle 1. But he gets the double off in Cycle 2.
Yeah, not getting these angles. Nope, it's just another double.
Oh, and these patterns look good for him here. There's a final double. That'll do Aga 2 for Lenophis.
020202.
Is that a message in Morse code? Are you trying to tell me something?
Possibly.
I do appreciate this Ganon text. It being one of the only ones I've seen him be nice to Link and appreciate that he's arrived.
Is that actually true? the text there?
You know, I've never verified any of the Ganon text facts. I assume many of them are true, but certainly, like anything else you read on the internet, I wouldn't take it as truth until you can verify it yourself.
Ganon has a lot of like animal facts, I just noticed. Well, if they are true, of course.
Oh, very nice fire bat dodging from Lenophis there. Just a bunch of little quick movements to make sure nothing hit him. He's well into phase 3 now.
It's definitely a much different looking fight between the Master and Tempered Sword.
He did a lot better dodging the bats than I did, definitely.
Ooh, gets the double hit off at the start again in there.
And the torch glitch as well.
Fortunately, can't get a double shot on Ganon when you're coming from below, but with a 4-shot there, Lenophis has finished up this fight and is going to finish this race as well. And that is an official time for Lenophis of 2 hours, 1 minute, and 58 seconds, finishing the seed. A pretty good run, with the exception of that nasty, nasty lamp that evaded him. Lenophis has opted to pass on the interview. He's got some people over right now that he doesn't want to disrupt with the sounds of talking to random people on the internet, which is totally understandable. But we're very pleased that both runners were able to put on such a good show for us. So thanks again to both shadyforce and Lenophis for doing this run and showing off just what these seeds can put people through. If you want more Link to the Past Randomizer, I have good news for you. It is on Twitch all the time. Specifically on this channel coming up at 6 Eastern in 45 minutes. We have another match between Sephi Compacto and Zero Rush. There's also matches going on right now on ALTTPR Randomizer 2 and 3 and Speed Gaming 4. And we're going to have matches on the other Speed Gaming channels and these channels throughout the rest of the night and most of the coming month. I want to give a big thanks to it was Hexmage who was on Tracker for us today, keeping that HUD updated at the bottom, because again, without the Tracker support, we can't actually make these happen. And Data World gets a big thanks as well for being the restreamer on this match, so that you could actually see what the runners were doing. I've been Philion. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to give the final word to my co-commentator, Don Venier. See you, everyone.
Thank you for watching, and have a very good night. Enjoy the rest of your day there.